On a crisp autumn evening in October 2018, the small mountain town of Mercy Falls, Colorado, seemed like the last place where something sinister could happen. With a population of just under 3,000 people, everyone knew everyone, and doors were rarely locked. But on the night of October 12th, that sense of security would be shattered forever. 28-year-old Sarah Chen was a beloved elementary school teacher who had moved to Mercy Falls 2 years too earlier from Denver. She fell in love with the tight-knit community and the stunning mountain views. Every Friday evening, Sarah had a routine. She would finish grading papers at the local coffee shop, the Daily Grind, then walk the 3 blocks home to her small apartment above the hardware store on Main Street. But on this particular Friday, Sarah never made it home. At 7:45 p.m., the owner of the Daily Grind, Marcus Webb, watched Sarah pack up her laptop and wave goodbye. Security footage from the coffee shop captured her stepping out into the twilight, her red scarf trailing behind her in the October wind. That would be the last confirmed sighting of Sarah Chen. When Sarah didn't show up for her usual Saturday morning yoga class, her best friend Jennifer Martinez grew concerned. Sarah was nothing if not reliable. Jennifer tried calling repeatedly, but every call went straight to voicemail. By Saturday afternoon, Jennifer was knocking on Sarah's apartment door. No answer. She peered through the window and saw Sarah's keys still hanging on the hook by the door, her purse on the kitchen counter. Something was very, very wrong. Jennifer immediately contacted the Mercy Falls Police Department. Chief Detective Robert Hammond arrived at the scene within minutes. The small-town police force rarely dealt with anything more serious than noise complaints or the occasional break-in. But Hammond was a veteran who had transferred from the Denver Police Department 5 years earlier. What he found troubled him deeply. Sarah's apartment was unlocked. Inside, everything appeared normal at first glance. Her bed was made, dishes were clean in the drying rack. Her laptop sat on the coffee table, still open to a document of lesson plans. But there were peculiarities that caught Hammond's trained eye. Sarah's phone was missing, but her charger was still plugged into the wall. Her jacket hung in the closet, despite the cold October weather. Most disturbing of all, her car keys were present. But when officers checked the small parking lot behind the building, Sarah's silver Honda was gone. Hammond immediately issued a be on the lookout alert for Sarah's vehicle and began interviewing residents along Main Street. The investigation revealed something chilling. 3 different witnesses reported seeing Sarah's car driving away from the downtown area around 8 p.m. that Friday night, but none of them had seen who was behind the wheel. The timing was crucial. Sarah had left the coffee shop at 7:45 p.m. Her apartment was a 3-minute walk away. What had happened in those missing minutes? For 3 agonizing days, search parties combed the mountainous terrain around Mercy Falls. Volunteers from neighboring towns joined the effort. Sarah's parents drove from California, their faces etched with worry and fear. Local news coverage amplified the story across Colorado, and Sarah's photo appeared on screens throughout the state. Then on Tuesday morning, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A local teenager named Dylan Frost had been mountain biking on a trail about 15 miles outside of town when he spotted something reflective glinting through the trees about 30 feet down a steep embankment. When he climbed down to investigate, his heart nearly stopped. It was Sarah's silver Honda, partially concealed by fallen branches and autumn leaves. Detective Hammond and his team arrived within the hour. The car had clearly been driven off the road intentionally, the tire tracks showing no signs of braking before it went over the edge. Inside the vehicle, investigators found Sarah's phone, its screen shattered, but Sarah herself was nowhere to be found. The discovery raised more questions than answers. If someone had forced Sarah's car off the road, where was she? Why stage it to look like an accident, but then remove the victim? Hammond's gut told him this was no random crime. As forensic teams processed the vehicle, Hammond's investigation took a darker turn. He began digging into Sarah's personal life, looking for anyone who might have wished her harm. Sarah's friends and family insisted she had no enemies. But one name kept appearing in witness statements with an uncomfortable frequency: Derek Paulson. Derek was a 34-year-old contractor who had done renovation work on Sarah's apartment building 6 months earlier. According to multiple sources, Derek had developed an obvious interest in Sarah, often finding excuses to talk to her and showing up at the Daily Grind when she was there. Sarah had confided in Jennifer that Derek made her uncomfortable, that his attention felt excessive and unwanted. When Hammond interviewed Derek, the contractor's story immediately raised red flags. Derek claimed he had been home alone watching television on the night Sarah disappeared, but he had no alibi that could be verified. More damning, when officers obtained a warrant to search Derek's property, they found something disturbing in his workshop: photographs of Sarah Dozens of them. Some appeared to have been taken without her knowledge, from across the street or through windows. Derek Paulson was arrested on stalking charges, but without direct evidence linking him to Sarah's disappearance, Hammond couldn't charge him with anything more serious. The case seemed to be at a standstill. 6 days after Sarah's disappearance, the investigation took its most dramatic turn yet. A local hunter named Tom Bradley was checking his remote cabin, located deep in the national forest about 22 miles from Mercy Falls. The cabin, which he only used during hunting season, was supposed to be empty, but as Tom approached, he noticed the door was slightly ajar. His blood ran cold when he stepped inside. The cabin showed clear signs of recent occupation. Food wrappers littered the floor, a sleeping bag was spread out on the cot, and most shockingly, there were rope marks on the wooden chair and scratches on the floorboards suggesting a struggle had taken place there. Tom immediately called the police. When Hammond and his forensic team swept the cabin, they found crucial evidence: strands of hair that matched Sarah's DNA, fingerprints that belonged to Derek Paulson, and a red scarf caught on a nail near the back window. Sarah's red scarf, the one she had been wearing when she left the coffee shop, but once again, Sarah herself was nowhere to be found. The evidence suggested she had been held in this cabin, but when and why had she been moved? Armed with this new evidence, Hammond brought Derek Paulson in for another interrogation. This time, the detective laid out everything they had found. The photographs, the fingerprints in the cabin, the scarf. The walls were closing in, and Derek knew it. What happened next would become the most talked about moment in Mercy Falls history. After hours of questioning, Derek finally broke down. But his confession wasn't what anyone expected. Yes, he admitted, he had been obsessed with Sarah. Yes, he had followed her that Friday night. And yes, he had forced her into her own car at knife point and driven her to that remote cabin. But Derek insisted he never intended to kill her. According to his statement, he had planned to keep Sarah at the cabin until she agreed to give him a chance, convinced in his delusional state that she would eventually return his feelings. He claimed he had kept her there for 3 days, but Sarah had managed to escape through the back window while he was sleeping on the 3rd night. Hammond didn't believe him. The evidence suggested violence, and the rope marks indicated Sarah had been restrained. But Derek maintained his story with one final chilling statement. She ran into the forest. I tried to follow her, but it was dark, and I lost her trail. I thought she'd find her way back to town, but then days passed and she never showed up. That's when I knew something terrible had happened to her out there. Based on Derek's confession, a massive search operation was launched in the forest surrounding the hunter's cabin. Dozens of volunteers, search and rescue teams, and cadaver dogs combed every inch of the rugged terrain. The forest was dense and unforgiving, with steep ravines, fast-moving streams, and miles of wilderness where someone could easily become lost or injured. For 2 weeks, the search continued. Sarah's parents never left, camping out in a hotel in Mercy Falls and joining the search parties every single day. The entire community rallied around the family, holding vigils and prayer services. Then, on a cold November morning, 17 days after Sarah first disappeared, a search dog picked up a scent near a rocky outcropping 2 miles from the cabin. The handler followed the dog down into a narrow ravine, and there, huddled in a small cave-like depression beneath an overhanging rock, they found her. Sarah Chen was alive. Sarah was severely dehydrated, hypothermic, and suffering from a badly broken ankle, but she was conscious and breathing. She had survived in the wilderness for over 2 weeks by drinking from streams, eating berries, and taking shelter in that small cave. She had tried desperately to find her way back to civilization, but the broken ankle from her fall during her escape had made it nearly impossible to travel. The entire town of Mercy Falls erupted in celebration when news of Sarah's rescue spread. Against impossible odds, she had survived. Derek Paulson was charged with kidnapping, assault, and a host of other crimes. At trial, Sarah testified about her terrifying ordeal, describing how she had been held captive, how she had waited for the right moment to escape, and how she had fought for survival in the wilderness, never giving up hope that she would be found. Derek Paulson was convicted and sentenced to 30 years in prison. Today, Sarah Chen has moved back to California to be closer to her family, but she remains in touch with the community of Mercy Falls. She's written a book about her experience and has become an advocate for stalking victims and wilderness survival education. Detective Hammond retired last year, but he keeps a photo on his desk of the day Sarah was found, a reminder that even in the darkest cases, hope should never be abandoned. The case of the vanishing at Mercy Falls stands as a testament to human resilience, the importance of community, and the dedication of those who never stop searching for the truth. Thank you for watching. If you or someone you know is experiencing stalking or harassment, please reach out to local authorities or call the National Stalking Hotline. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell for more true crime stories. Stay